Welcome to my channel at Old School Yotas. Here I've removed the engine cover and then I'll remove the air filter box and some other things that are on the way so that I can begin tuning up this vehicle. 2014 Nissan Sentra SR. And I'm gonna take the coils out and I'm gonna take the spark plugs out. So let's check it out. Here I take the PCV valve hose. I'm using a 1/4 inch deep socket, 10 millimeter, and taking all these bolts by hand. I'm using a little bit of the WD-40 to ease the removing of the connectors that go into the coils. Gotta be real careful when you take these connectors off. I use a pick and a real small flat screwdriver in order to press down on the clip and then press outwards on the connector. Note how I use a special set of pliers to pull out on the coil packs. I chose NGK plugs because they last long and they were not too expensive. Here I use a chrome 14 millimeter 3/8 socket to put these spark plugs on. I use a small amount of anti-seize. I don't use the brush, just a small amount. Please don't over tight the spark plugs. You will have some chaos in your hands. Yeah, I wiped down the coils, not only for them to look clean and be clean, but there was WD-40 all over them, so I want to make sure I take all that off and make them look good at the same time. These are original factory Hitachi coils. I didn't see any burn marks on them, and the car was not really skipping. We're doing just a maintenance on it. Here I wipe off the excess WD-40 I spray on the connectors. It's not a good idea to leave it like that there. They'll attract dirt. We don't want dirt there. Cazzo volano, capito? Also, do not over tight the 10mm bolts that hold the coil packs. I myself have over tied them before in the past using a electric or air pneumatic tool, and I have cracked the coil pack, causing it to be defective. Here I installed the PCV valve hose back on and tighten clips up, and we continue with the tune-up. This rubber I'm cleaning because it goes on where you put the oil in the valve cover, and that it's made to catch oil so it won't go all over the coil packs. It's still soft. I clean it up to make it look good. I don't want no dirt going back in there, and I also clean the cap up. Now I'm gonna do a throttle body service, clean the throttle body with a brush. I'm gonna remove the intake hose. It's also attached to the back part of the air filter box. There's gonna be a couple of tabs. I use WD-40 to ease the removal. I'm gonna take these tabs off. They go into the air temperature sensor. I use that tool right there that you see in my hand. It's a long needle nose with a 90-degree angle. Once I take that off, I'm gonna go ahead and clean the throttle body. Use CRC throttle body and intake air cleaner, and then take a brush and a rag. I have to use a mirror because the throttle body is facing the firewall and it's impossible to look. Use a brush, and after you use the brush, you clean it with a rag or spray it up. I was looking in the mirror and I see that it wasn't really dirty, so I actually never used a rag, as you can see. But using that brush is okay. Don't use a metal brush. And here I'm gonna do a remove the brake fluid that's on the reservoir, and later I'm gonna go ahead and pump the brakes out and get the rest of the fluid out. Fluid was a factory, has 85,000 miles on it, so it's kind of dark looking, as you can see there. And that is a turkey baster. Yes, sir. I use brake cleaner to clean the brake fluid reservoir filter, the blue filter. The cap says .3. I'm gonna put .3 back in there. Here I find out it's easier to put the air filter on the outer part of the housing, not in the inner. I just went in pretty easy. It's 2 taps on the bottom and 2 taps on the top. The top has the metal clips. The bottom has got some rubber tabs. Now we're gonna do a coolant flush, and we're also going to drain and fill the transmission. I already done that in the past, but I come to find out that the CVTs is better when you flush them twice. And this car has 85,000 miles and it has just never had that done. I jack it up right now, and then I'm gonna take a bottom cover. It's got a cover on the bottom with a few 10mm bolts and 4 clips. I'll be taking that off, and then I'm going to begin to take the drain plug out of the transmission pan, along with a tube that has to come out. You'll see it in the image in a minute. I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm also going to do an oil change at this point. Here I use a 5mm 3/8 Torx bit to remove that tube that goes in here in the drain. The drain plug's already out, the fluid's already come out, but yeah, you got to take that 19mm plug off. Then you use the 5mm Torx. It's a 3/8 drive, and the fluid will come out faster. There's a 19mm. I use a wrench, 19mm wrench, obviously, and that's pretty much that. This field tube cannot be over tightened. You don't want to over tighten that, so you don't have to take the oil pan off and do any repairs in there. Here I'm locating the radiator drain petcock. I'm gonna loosen it by hand. Do not use any vice grips or any metal tools against the plastic. It will break. I'm gonna install a small hose on that nipple because as you can see, if I open it, it's gonna fall all over that metal rail down there. So to avoid a big spill, we're gonna put the hose, and there it goes. I use that clamp, and as you can see now, when I open the petcock, the fluid's gonna run down that hose. Make everything easier for everybody. Make sure you use a red bucket to catch the antifreeze. A red bucket. You don't have to spend $50 at the Nissan dealership buying a gallon of Nissan coolant. Here I use Peak. It says Nissan Infinity on it. This qualifies for OEM. The funnel contraptions that you see here, it's to make it easier to go into the filler tube for the CVT transmission fluid that we had to put back. So I use Valvoline CVT, and also qualifies for Nissan and Infinity. Always check what kind of fluid goes in your car. Here clearly we can see that this 5-gallon uses, it qualifies for the N3 fluid. Now I have to install the coolant reservoir, the coolant bottle, back in its place. It's got a tab in the bottom, as you can see. There it goes, and then it's got a 10mm bolt holding on top. Put the bolt on, tie it up, and then put the hose back in. I'm gonna also gotta clamp it back on there, and I'm gonna refill that with the extra fluid. You'll see it in a little while. Okay, I removed that little hose and I tie in the petcock by hand, not using any hand tools. I tie it by hand. This will break and leak. You don't want that. Here I'm gonna use a B cap. Letter B cap. If you have the funnel set, there's a funnel set that comes the funnel and those connectors. And again, here's the blue fluid. Very similar to what came out. Of course, it's cleaner. It almost looks like the energy blueberry Gatorade. If you wonder what's the rag on top of the funnel, it's to avoid spillage. When it goes down, all that fluid, as it goes down, it creates a spillage. And you see how the bubbles coming out of there. Car is not running at this point. I'm just filling up the funnel and let the air bubbles come out by itself. Every now and then I'll press the hose, top hose, and make it settle, help it settle a little bit. In a little while, I'm going to crank the car right now, and I am going to check it, turn the heat on and that good stuff, and check the fluid levels. Make sure there's no air in the radiator, any air bubbles. As you can see, the car is running now, and that way we're gonna let it run and observe it. And once the funnel stops bubbling and the radiator won't take any more, we're gonna put the rest of what's in the funnel inside the reservoir bottle. Let's put a little washer fluid on that reservoir there. Make everything filled up and good and ready to go. making sure to wrap it up a couple of times, turn the heat on and check the heat, check the temperature, and that way you make sure you got heat. It's still cold out here. Make sure everybody's happy. Now now that the radiator is filled, we're gonna dump the remaining coolant into the coolant reversible bottle. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Toyoteros at Old School Yotas. Thank you for watching the video.